Revelations.Unveiled.Detroit. A continuing review of the cover-ups, conspiracy, and continuing wicked escapades of the Catholic Church institution. Nuns raped girls with crucifixes as female pedophilia was covered up by the church. A horrifying report on the extent of clerical sex abuse in France has sent shock waves through the Catholic Church. But will it change anything? In Rome, Marie was placed in a French Catholic boarding school for young girls from good families when she was in the 5th grade. She remembers a nun who would come to her class every day to choose a student to help her with Mass. But the nun wasn't looking for someone to help her. She was looking for a victim. I was 11 and looked 9. She would choose me once every 2 or 3 times, she recalls. She would take me to her office, lock the door, and then draw the curtains. After which, she would put me on her knees to make me read the gospel according to St. Paul or another saint, while she squeezed me with one hand to her chest and pulled down my panties with her other hand. We were, of course, in pleated skirts and not in pants. It terrified me and paralyzed me. Marie couldn't talk to her devout Catholic parents about the abuse until a friend convinced her to do so. The result, she said, was catastrophic. "You are really a pervert, a vicious liar. How dare you say such things?" her parents told her. In fact, her parents had told the nuns that she was being sent to boarding school because she needed to be tamed. I was truly a gift for this nun because she knew full well that she did not risk anything. The abuse lasted the whole year, and at the age of 35, Marie told her mother again about the abuse. My mother blissfully told me that it was impossible for a nun to whom she entrusted her daughter to abuse a girl, she said. Female pedophilia exists, and unfortunately, the media never talk about it. Marie was certainly not alone. Dozens of other victims of priests, nuns, and Catholic school personnel in France formed the basis of a 2,500-page report released by a special commission led by Jean-Marc Sauve. While 80% of the victims were young boys between the ages of 10 and 13, many young girls were abused as well, and not only by priests. Nuns used crucifixes to rape little girls or forced boys to have sex with them too. The commission spent nearly 3 years combing through the complaints and press reports and interviewing victims going back to the 1950s. Of the 3,000 abusers identified by the commission, 2/3 are priests. They found that the priests and nuns alone abused around 216,000 children. but that number climbs to 330,000 children when they counted abuse at the hands of non-clergy who worked in the Catholic schools and other institutions. The report only covers minors. The authors, who include scholars, psychologists, and law enforcement officials, say there could be many young men and women over the age of 18 who were also victims. Their summary is damning, determining that the Catholic Church in France showed a deep, cruel indifference towards sexual victims. Olivier Savignac was another of those victims. He wanted to believe the priest in his home parish in France was a devout man. But when the priest asked him to take off his clothes and lie on the bed in a room at a Catholic summer camp when he was 13 years old, he knew something was not right. I perceived this priest as someone who was good, a caring person who would not harm me, said Savignac, who now heads a group for victims of clerical sex abuse. But it was when I found myself on that bed half naked and he was touching me that I realized something was wrong. Savignac says the abuse, which went on for years, damaged him for life. It's like a growing cyst. It's a gangrene inside the victim's body and the victim's psyche. Only 22 of the thousands of cases of criminal pedophilia under French law or qualify under French law for legal action. More than 40 cases that are past the statutes of limitations have been forwarded to the French Catholic Church in hopes that the perpetrators will be punished. On average, each perpetrator abused 70 children. The president of the French Conference of Bishops, Eric D. Molins-Buford, said the church is appalled by the report. I wish on that day to ask for pardon. Pardon to each of you, he told the victims. Pope Francis also expressed sorrow over the findings, saying he will pray for those affected. His first thoughts are with the victims. With great sadness for their wounds, Francis said in a statement through his press office, adding that he hoped the French church would now undertake a way of redemption. Survivor Francois Duveau, who founded the victims group La Parole Libérée, attended the presentation of the report. You are a disgrace to our humanity, he said, addressing the church as a whole. In this hell, there have been abominable mass crimes, but there has been even worse betrayal of trust, betrayal of morale, betrayal of children. So family, as we are inundated by all of these stories of African American men and sex crimes and trafficking and RICO statutes, there has been a religious order on the planet existing for over 500 years who has a continuing history of harm, molestation, and sexual abuse from the leaders of the institution against the children of our countries. And the families and the parents seem to lend or give their children over to these pedophile priests and wicked satanic practitioners of pedophilia. And yet the world has not stormed this institution and burned it to the ground for the continuing satanic practices and being the overall leader of the global Christianity assembly. and all of the churches follow the edicts, and all of the leaders of the earth kiss the ring of the Pope, and the Pope is the leader of this cacophony of wickedness and sin and crimes against children and humanity. So we shall buttress all future agendas of sex crimes against particular ethnicities, against the continued doings of centuries of sadistic sodomy, pedophilia, and spiritual destruction of the Holy Roman Catholic Church. And we shall return with our continuing critical analysis and review, our spiritual examination of our carnal existence, and until we are together again, I love you. I love you. I love you. This is Revelations.Unveiled. Detroit. Freak nasty nuns of the Catholic Church. Revelations.Unveiled. Detroit.